Okay, so at this point, you should have a fairly good idea of how to properly set up your social media profiles, at least Facebook and Instagram. You should also have a good idea of what to post and how often to post. And now that you have a good understanding of these basics, we're going to be reviewing how you can improve those efforts today, as well as a few ways in which we can either reduce the amount of time that you spend on it or make your life a little bit easier. So you're going to have, by the end of this, hopefully, better posts going out in less time and easier on yourself. So, our first tip, and probably the most important tip for improving your social media efforts, is to utilize analytics. Now, what are analytics? The thing to me that encompasses the best or explains it the best why analytics are so important is this quote from John Wanamaker, who was the owner of Macy's, I think somewhere in the late 1800s, or the company that would eventually become Macy's anyway. And the quote is, "Half the money I spend is on advertising is wasted. The trouble is I don't know which half." And this is a problem that's still, again, this was from the 1880s or so, and it's still a problem for a lot of businesses today. You spend money on, let's say you got a radio ad out there, you advertise in the newspaper, maybe you do some Google ads. Um, People are coming into the store, you're making sales, but what's really working and what's not, and it can be very hard to tell unless you ask every single person that comes in. And even then, half the time they don't even remember. They just heard about you from something or they walked by or whatever the case. So what you need is a way of finding out what of your efforts are working and what aren't. And analytics is the best way of doing that. So analytics is simply the process of taking raw data and using it to generate insights that allow you to make better decisions. So one of the best ways of improving your social media efforts is to actually just look back at your past efforts to see what worked and what didn't. And to get the most out of those analytics, you're going to want to sit down and review your performance every 1 to 2 months. I find some people, when they get started, they look at it a little too often. They might look at every post or even once a week. Um, that can be a little bit misleading because you might just have one post that did really well for there's a bit of randomness to it. So you can never really tell exactly why one post did well. But if you look back at 50 or 100 posts, you can see some sort of patterns. And that's what you're looking for. Not necessarily what one post did the best, but what group of posts did the best. So you can see, okay, let's take the top 10% and the bottom 10% of all your posts and let's see what they have in common. So what's the 10% the best, what's really working, and the 10% of the worst, what's not working, and use that to generate it. So the reason the 1 to 2 months is just to leave yourself enough data that you're not really being thrown off by one or two posts that did really good or really bad, when if maybe post on a different day or at a different time, they might have actually done the opposite. Um, so it's just a way of kind of evening things out. And when you're doing these reviews, what you want to be monitoring. So these are some of the basic metrics. If you're reviewing these and you're understanding these, you have a very good start. That being said, there are many more that you can get into when if you really want to get into it. But having a knowledge of these will help you, kind of get you 80% of the way there. Let's say. And the first metric is reach. So reach is simply the total number of people that have seen your posts. So if you have a reach of 100, it means 100 people saw your post at least once. Now, impressions is the total number of times that your posts were seen. So if 100 people all see the same post twice, you have a reach of 100 and 200 impressions. So every time you're going to see reach and impressions will always be higher because there's going to be some people that have seen the post more than once. So reach is really what you should be looking at, in my opinion, because it's all about getting the most amount of people to see something. When it comes to ads, though, impressions is somewhat important because generally speaking, you're going to want people to see your ads at least more than once, and usually at least 3 or 4 times for them to really be effective. So it can be interesting to see both. So reach, to know you're reaching the number of people you want to see the ad, and impressions to make sure that they're seeing it the correct number of times. And then you have engagements. So Engagements are basically any sort of action that someone takes on your post. So it can include like, comments, shares, video views over a certain length of time, link clicks, photo previews. There's almost endless ways people can engage with Facebook posts, at least. And on Facebook, they do lump them together into this engagements number, where on a lot of other social media networks like Instagram, you'll actually see them separated. So you'll see comments and likes and shares split on other social media networks typically. You also have link clicks. So this, in my opinion, especially for ads, is probably going to be your number one thing, because it's all well and good if 2,000 people saw your ad. So if you have a reach of 2,000, but you only have 5 link clicks, only 5 people took the next step and went to your website to see what it was you were advertising. So with ads, at least, link clicks is going to be quite important. Engagements may be more important for a lot of just regular posts, but for ads specifically, ultimately you want people to go to your website. So that would be a very important metric to follow for that. And then engagement rate. So this is not a metric that you'll actually see anywhere usually in your reports. I don't know of any other than Twitter that actually give you this, but it's very easy to calculate yourself. All you do is you take the number of engagements and divide it by the reach. So the result will give you a decimal. You can turn that into a percentage by multiplying it by 100. So if you have, let's say, 10 engagements and 100 reach, you divide 10 engagements by 100 reach to get 0.1, multiply that by 100, you get 10%. This is kind of where people get into what is a good and what is a bad number for these. And the answer is tough, especially with engagement rate. My thing is always your target should be slightly better than what you did previously. So if your reach is 1,000 people on average a month now, for some accounts that's very, very good. And for other accounts, that would be disastrously bad. But for yourself, if you're at 1,000 now, all you can do is reach for a higher target next month. Or, in 3 months, you want to be at 1,500 reach. That's the best way of approaching this, rather than looking for some target that everyone should reach, because it's really dependent on how many people follow your account, the area you're in. Some people, if you're a multinational company and you've got 100,000 people following your page, or you're a local small business that's got 100 people following your page, you can't really compare one to the other. So to say that, everyone should be getting a reach of 10,000, again, that multinational company would be a disaster, an absolute disaster, if they only had a reach of 10,000. But you, as a local business with 100 people, that would be an incredible achievement. So it's all about your previous performance. That being said, with engagement rate, there is sort of an average that you can go off of, which is for Facebook and most social media networks, 3 to 4% is the average. Instagram was quite a bit higher. It still is higher, but not as much. I would, if you had 5 or 6% engagement rate, that would be very good. Twitter is like 1%. It would be incredible on Twitter. But most, if you shoot for 3% across the board, you're going to be pretty good. But again, if you hit 3%, or if you're at 10% right now, that doesn't mean you've kind of reached the end of your goals, right? You're not going to stop there. You're going to want to go from 10 to 11 or 11 to 12. Your goals should always be higher than what you're at, even if you're at a very good number. So using those metrics that we just discussed, you can see a lot of things. So things like what post type perform best. So whether it be a link post, a photo post, a video post, on Instagram, it's pretty much just photo or video, but talking about Facebook at least, you can see what post types perform best, what post times are performing best. So if you look at 50 posts, 100 posts, you go back in the last 6 months and you filter your posts by post type, or post time rather, like publishing time, you can start to see maybe some patterns where certain times you've got more engagement than other times. And you can then post at different times of the day or different days, maybe just certain days people are on more or less. I find sometimes for some businesses like a Monday or a Sunday is just not a good day to post for whatever reason. So we deliberately post less on those days. You can also see something very basic, like, but very important, which is how many people click through to your website. So again, just looking at link clicks by themselves, what posts are getting people to click through to your website, or what ads specifically, and what can you learn from that? What type of images do they have? Do they have the same sort of image? Do they have the same sort of text? Are they the same kind of post type? So, if you're sharing videos and the videos are getting a lot of link clicks through to the website, but regular photo posts aren't, it lets you know that you should be doing maybe some more videos when you want people to click through to your website. And then again, your overall engagement rate and how that changes over time. So again, a lot of these metrics don't mean anything on their own, but it's when you compare them to other things that they have meaning and have value. So if your engagement rate you calculate to be 3.5%, that's not very meaningful unless you have an engagement rate for the last month or an average of the last 6 months that you can compare it to say, okay, were these posts then on average better or worse? Generally speaking, a higher engagement rate means that your posts are doing better. They're more engaging to your followers. So you should be continuing to do the ones that give you more engagement. So use these findings to adjust your efforts for the following month. Simply just get rid of what's working, start doing more of what is working. So I'll give you a quick tour here. So if you go to your Facebook page and click the Insights tab on Facebook, this is going to give you all of the metrics that you could ever want. You can also export this if you want to get really technical. You can export them to a CSV or to an Excel spreadsheet, and basically either keep track of them over the course of months or years, or start sorting them by various values to kind of get more in depth. But if you don't want to get that far into it, you can do a lot from right here. So a few that I want to kind of highlight is one, the page summary isn't bad. It gives you an overall view of everything. So how many video views, page followers you've increased, how much post engagement, post reach, all that kind of stuff. And you can filter this either today, yesterday, last 7 days, or last 28 days. But if you're really looking to figure out how your posts have done, you're going to want to go to the post tab here. And what this does, this gives you a few good things. So one, you'll see this here is the average amount of followers that were active at a certain point. So you can see as I scroll this, I go from 3 a.m., 152 people, to a maximum of 313 at 6 p.m. and dropping down to midnight, only 65. So that leads me to believe that posting anytime after, probably 8 o'clock and anytime before 5 in the morning is going to be not good. You're not going to reach as many people as if I were to post from 8 or let's say 6 a.m. to 7, 8 p.m. That's going to be the peak. And within there, there's not a lot of difference, but at least lets me know at least, that I have that window to go through. You can also see the average based on the day. So that's the average of the last week. And as I scroll over these days, it gives me a difference. So you might find certain days, especially the weekends. You can see there on Saturday, there's quite a jump in the early morning. And it's actually, 6 to 9 a.m. that most people on a Saturday are on this particular channel. So you can see that in the line. I can't show you exactly because it'll go away, but the average being the shaded in area and the line being the day's average. So if I were to do the same thing on Friday, you can see mornings, it's fine, but there's a real spike on a Saturday. So that you can use that sort of stuff to figure out what days and what times of certain days that might be better to post. Because generally speaking, the more people that are on, during that time, the more that can see it and will interact with it. You can also then see a list of all of your posts, and you can hit see more if you want to keep going back. But this basically gives me all of June, up until here. And you can see then here, so you have your reach and your engagements. And you'll see that the top one is reactions, comments, shares. The bottom one is post clicks. So they do separate it slightly for you here. But the top one is everything other than link clicks. So again, likes, comments, shares, photo views, video views, any sort of engagement on the post that's not clicking through to your website. And you can also see that they separate it between, well, it's hard to see because the organic is so small. But the little sliver there, if I hover over it, you can see it. The organic reach was 255. The paid reach was 2859. So you can also see that as well. One, if you boosted the post, and two, what that boost did. And if you click on the individual post, you can see the post, and you can see more information on what those various engagements were. So on this one, there was 19 engagements, 18 were likes, 1 was a share. And you can also see then, so you have on post. This is the total number of engagements. This is the total number of engagements on the actual post that you posted. And then there can also be engagements if people shared it. So in this case, there was 1 share. If someone were to like that shared post, I'd also be able to see that in this column. And then you can also see post clicks, which is mostly photo views, but also 27 going to the website, because there's multiple photos. So a lot of people will click to look at the individual photos when you post multiple, which can also be a way of really getting up engagements too, because the more engagements on a post, the more Facebook will show it to people. And you can also see the results of your boost here. So again, you can see there was almost 3,000 people reached and 400 engagements. And if you click further, you can also see your cost per engagement, 2 cents to get someone to engage with a post. Very, very, very low, obviously. And to get that only costs us $10. So for 3,000 people to see it, costs you $10. So that kind of stuff. We'll get into boosting posts later and why that's important, but there's a good example of, what is that? Probably 10 times the amount of people seeing a post for $10, and 10 times the engagements. So definitely worth it. So you can go in. You can also see here what type of post it was. So there's a photo post, a link post, just a status update. There should be a video here somewhere that you can see. Geez, really? Because we haven't posted a video in a while. But the video will show there as well, or simple text. So you can see what kind of posts have been going out, and you can maybe see that too, right? So if all of your link posts are super high and all your photo posts are super low in terms of reach, to do more link posts. Another way is just by simply clicking this post types, which I find works half the time and other times doesn't. There you go. So here's a really good thing here. So you can see of all of the photo post, link post, video post, and status updates that we've done in the last month or so, photo posts are by far reaching the most people and engaging the most people. So this lets me know that I should be doing more photo posts and less of the other ones going forward. That doesn't mean we only do photo posts, but it means we do more of them, or we at least look at the photo post versus the link post to see what the difference is. But part of this is algorithmic. So photo posts will generally always have a higher reach because the Facebook algorithm prioritizes those videos and photos more than links. So they'll just by default be shown to more people than a link or a status update or a text post would. And that's just Facebook prioritizing certain post types that they think are going to do better because they've done better in the past. So photo posts and video posts are generally new content, which people are more engaged with than sharing existing content, which is typically what a link post would be. So that's my justification anyway for the difference between a photo and a link, the difference in reach on average. So this is going to be where you find 90% of the useful information. So again, when your fans online, post types, top posts from pages you watch. So there is an option to watch pages. You can just hit there, click add pages, and you can put in your competitors and see what they've done and what's working for them to get some ideas as well. So you would just click add pages, and it gives you some suggestions, or you can just search by name for anyone that you want. So the only other ones I'd ever really go to would be either likes and followers, which are basically the same. They just give you an idea of how many likes and follows you've gotten. And you basically look at this to see if there's any spikes. So you can see here, there's not, these are ones and twos. It looks a little more dramatic than it is. But if you were to say that you got 20 likes over the course of 2 days, and then, you know, maybe 1 or 2 the rest of the month, look to see what you posted in those 2 days that got all that reach, that got all those likes. Or likewise, if you got a sudden drop in followers, you know, losing one, well, in this case, we lost 4 in a month, which isn't bad at all, while also gaining, let's say, around 10. That's fine. But if you were to notice a large drop in a certain area or during a certain day, then maybe, okay, that what did we post during that day that, you know, maybe turned people off, or did we post too much during that time period and people just stopped following us because they were getting annoyed by all the posts we were doing. Where people liked your page, this can be useful, but 90% isn't, because it's almost always going to be from your page. I rarely see any of these other pop up, and unless you're doing a specific ad that you want to track, I would pretty much just disregard that. But this is nice to see total likes, and again, where those likes came from, or get an idea at least what posts kind of drove those likes or drove the dislikes or unlikes, unfollows. Same thing with followers. It does the same thing. Reach is just a more limited post, so I'd ignore that. Page views, page previews. Yeah, the rest of these you can pretty much ignore, and just concentrate on posts, the overview. Ads, if you're running ads, is nice. And then likes and follows, just to see again if there's any of those kind of spikes up or down. So getting back here, I'd go over Instagram as well, but unfortunately Instagram, you can only view insights from the app, but it does have a very scaled down version of the same thing, where you can see how many people liked or viewed a certain post. And again, you can kind of try to derive some insights from that. It's very similar, but not 100% as in depth. So we're going to quickly go through a few ways to improve different aspects of your post now. So the first being the post text, and this is the hardest to actually kind of define. What separates a good post text from a bad post text? It really depends on your followers, what you think they'll enjoy, and what you've kind of seen from past things. But there are 2 general tips that I would recommend everyone follow, which is one, to keep it short. So with the exception of Instagram, where you can generally go, 2, 3, 4 paragraphs in some cases without really losing engagement, most social media networks, and Facebook is one of them, you want to keep it as short as possible. People don't, for whatever reason, tend to read through things. So if you can't say what you want to say in 2 or 3 sentences, try to find a different way, maybe make a video out of it or something instead of writing it all out, because you just won't get the same engagement. So 2 to 3 sentences might be a little bit lower than you need to go, but definitely no more than a paragraph and another sentence or something like that. Like I'll usually do, if I'm doing a blog post, a quick intro paragraph that's maybe 2 or 3 sentences, and then I'll add another sentence that's view the blog on our website or something with the link. So you don't really want to go too much more than that. And you're also going to want to try to show off your brand personality when possible. So again, we talked about this in a previous module. Just like every person has a personality, every brand should have a personality. So think about your brand personality. Are you fun? Are you serious? Are you thoughtful? Are you creative? And try to work that in to the brand personality and stick to it. So you don't want to be kind of jumping back and forth between, the fun guy sharing memes and jokes and stuff, and then you go to the super serious person that's, you know, all business and very formal, and it becomes a little bit jarring to see that when the same social media network's going so crazy between one and the other extreme. So also improving your images now. This is one that'll probably be the biggest game changer for you if you can get the right images, because social media is a visual medium. So for this reason, the images or the first frame of your video, you know, that first still is going to be what stops people from scrolling. People, you know, you probably do it yourself. You just scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll until you see something that catches your eye, and then you check out that post. So you need that image to catch someone's eye in order, you know, you could spend an hour writing the exact perfect post text and no one reads it because the image doesn't work. You know, the image doesn't stop them in their tracks. So how do you take better photos? Again, it's hard to say exactly what separates a good photo from a bad photo, but there are some good tips to get you started, and these are some. One, pay close attention to your lighting and your color. So having big, bold colors can really stop people, or big contrast in color. So a white, you know, wall with a colorful product in front of it. The product, the color then stands out a lot more because it's on a white wall. Or again, just very vibrant, bright colors to just kind of stop people. And also that your lighting, so you want to try to find natural light when you can. I'll show you an example of a difference in the next slide, but lighting can be very important to the quality of the image, especially if you're taking it on a camera, a phone, rather than an actual camera. So good natural light, lots of light, good color in the image itself. Include people when possible. People like to see people. They interact with people. You know, it's very important. Whenever possible, you know, if you're taking a photo of a product to promote a product, have a staff member holding it instead of just having it on the table, or at least, you know, try that with some of them to see. Show off your community. So, you know, here in Kingston, a lot of social media or a lot of small businesses on social media do very well just simply sharing photos of downtown and talking about how much they like their community, how much they like, you know, working downtown, living in Kingston, just those types of posts where it's not necessarily anything to do with your business, but it's just a nice shot of downtown or of a certain building, or, you know, a nice sunset or something like that. Just show off your community with some nice posts, some nice photos posts. And then also try different angles and zoom levels. So rather than the typical just taking a picture of a photo of a product kind of head on, you know, so it takes up, let's say, most of the available area, try zooming out a little bit so you see it more in the room, especially for things like furniture or home decor kind of stuff. You can kind of see it more as it would be in their home, and that can be a little more engaging. Or zoom right into it, zoom into fine details of it. Try different angles, shoot it from overhead as well as from on the side, or maybe on an upward angle or something, to find different angles that maybe look a little more striking when you see it. You know, it might not be the best show off of the product, but you can also use multiple photos, multiple angles if you want one that shows off the product more, but you lead with the one that looks a little more striking to kind of stop people in their tracks. And also try not to add too much text. So we'll go over quickly anyway, a design tool called Canva, which is a free tool that you can use to design images and put text over images, but try to keep the text to a minimum. You know, a few words, no full sentences. You know, don't completely saturate the image in text because you'll lose. One, you can't advertise with it, which we'll talk about in the 5th module on Thursday. And 2, they're just not as engaging. And I have a link there as well that has those and many more tips for actually just taking better photos with your phone, so you can get higher quality images. That being said, it's not always possible to take a good quality photo. You know, you have bad lighting, you don't have any natural light in certain areas of the store maybe, or you're just pressed for time and you don't have, you know, 20 minutes to find the perfect shot. That doesn't mean that you're stuck with that photo. You can do some editing. So we'll go to Canva here. This, again, it's a free tool. You can sign up with your Google account, or you can just create one with your email, but they have hundreds and hundreds of designs And you can see a lot of them include text. So stuff like Father's Day, any holiday, any sale you have coming up, you can add a little bit of text. Again, this amount of text that they have on these is about all you'd ever want to do. In some cases, maybe a little bit too much because a lot of that little stuff would be hard to read. These sort of things wouldn't be useful for social media. They're great infographics, they're great things to print out, which you can also use this for, but specific to social media, here's, excuse me. So here's a basic, fall banner that you can use on social media. If you wanted to change, let's say that this image in the background here, we didn't like, you can add effects to it. Oh, you got to connect those. I won't do that. But really what you want to do is filter and adjust for the most part. So filters, these are all like Instagram filters. So you can see as I click them, the colors and kind of balance of it changes slightly. In some cases dramatically. Go back to none. But you can also just simply, if it's not quite bright enough, you can adjust the brightness, or if it's too bright, you can lower the brightness. Contrast. This can be a good way of saturating some colors to really get, if you have a nice vibrant red, you can really get it to pop by adding a little bit of contrast. And if you just wanted the image, you can just go here and delete the text. Whoops. And then once you've got it kind of the way you want it, just hit download. And you can download it as a PNG for free. So this is a free tool. We'll go over it in a little more detail later, but that's just a quick thing you can use. Instagram has built-in filters that you can use, but you can get something you can see here. This wasn't taken in natural light. It's a little bit washed out. The whites aren't white. It's all kind of monotone. A little bit of editing. You get the white a lot. It's a lot more vibrant, and it's just a little more striking. It looks a little more modern, and again, just not as washed out. So fix your images if you can. Again, Canva is a great tool to do that quickly and easily without spending money on something like Photoshop. Improving your videos is all about the first 5 seconds of the video. So it's a lot like the image and text thing. If you have a perfect video, but the first 3 or 4 seconds don't get people excited to watch it, no one will watch it. And all that work you did into the other 1 minute of the video that's really good and is, exactly the way you want it, is kind of wasted because no one's going to watch to that part. So think of it like the image and have that first 5 seconds where you spend the most time, because that's going to be where they decide to watch the rest of the video or not. So hook them in with a strong opening statement, unique visuals, something to get them excited about watching the rest of the video. And then posting at the right time. So this is something we talked about earlier when we were looking at the Facebook analytics. Posting at the right time really will make a difference. It won't be an overwhelming difference, but you might get another 10 or 20% reach and engagement by just simply posting at the right time. So, and this comes again down to the algorithm that social media networks like Facebook use, where newer posts are shown higher in feeds than older posts. By the time, as I mentioned here, a post that's published 2 days ago has literal no chance of displaying prominently in follower feeds. That doesn't mean it doesn't display at all, but it might be, post 40 or 50 in their feed, whereas ones posted a few hours ago would be in the top 10 and would be seen right away. So timing is everything. Trying to get when most people are on there will get you seen by the most people. And some rough times for most, and we could see that as well in those. We're pretty close. 7 to 9 a.m., noon to 4 p.m. are good starting points, but use your analytics and use that graph to see when your specific audience, it might vary slightly from that. That also doesn't mean that you only post during these times. It just means that you post more during these times than in other times. So another way of improving your social media efforts is to boost your post to a wider audience. We saw that earlier with that one post, 200 or so organic reach, going up to over 3,000 organic reach for a $10 spend. And, it's around the same for the engagements and the link clicks. So, 10 times the performance for $10 is a huge win. I would recommend $10 is about the most I spend on most posts. $5 to $10 on a post once or twice a week, gets you about $50 spend in a month. And overall, I've yet to see very many boosts that don't at least triple or quadruple your results. The 10 times is quite good, but I would expect at least 3 or 4 times the results on any boost, even for $5. So utilize that to your advantage. We'll be going over exactly how to do that in depth on Thursday, where we're talking about social media ads and boosting. So a couple of quick tips for using your time more efficiently. So now your post should be better, but you might still be spending a little bit too much time on them. Your time is precious as a social or as a small business owner. So the less time you can spend on social media while still keeping up the quality, the more time you can spend on other things. One of the best ways to do that is to develop a calendar ahead of time. This gives you an idea of what to post in the coming up this month. So one of the biggest challenges is coming up with content on the spot. This gives you that, okay, I know I have to post today. Let's look at the calendar. Oh yeah, I'm posting about a product. So let's find a good product and let's go and make this post. So it keeps the quality up where you're not having to come up with a post on the spot, but it also lets you ensure you have a good balance of different post topics and timings. You can also plan out videos. So if one of your goals is to make sure that you do, let's say 2 or 3 video posts a month, it lets you know that, okay, I'm going to do one this week, one this week, one this week. And you're not going to be the end of the month thinking, oh crap, we never did a video post. Or, we never did any product posts. We only kept posting different blogs and stuff. We got to get more product posts out there. So this lets you kind of keep that balance while also keeping up the quality. In that same vein, set aside some time every week for social media rather than doing those on the spot posts, because at least for me, and I know a lot of small businesses are the same, the times that you have available to actually do posts are not the times that it's not that 8, 9 in the morning. It's not that noon to 4 p.m. It's going to be first thing before you get started, or it's going to be after you're done and maybe after dinner or something like that when you have a spare moment to do a post, and you're not going to get that same value out of it then, right? Because those are low quality times to post. So, and during the day, when you got 10 other things going on, social media posts might be the last thing on your mind. And again, you might just do the first thing that comes to your head, send it out, and you're done. But you can actually use tools like Hootsuite, or Facebook has an built-in functionality, let's say, that allows you to schedule things ahead of time. So set aside a block, let's say Friday morning from 8 to 10 in the morning. That's your social media time for the week. You do all your posts, you get the images, you do your video, and you schedule them to run for the following week. You can do that in Facebook by going to Publishing Tools. And once this loads up here, whenever you create a post, so you can see there's published posts and scheduled posts. So these are all the posts that we've had already go out, and there's 2 that are scheduled to run this week. If I hit create post on either of those pages, test, as soon as you write anything, so it'll go to share now. But if you click here, you can change it to schedule. And you can choose, I want this test to go out on the 30th, and I want it to go out at around 2 p.m. And I hit schedule, and I hit schedule post. So now it's going out at the exact time I want it to go out. It's the exact post text. It's got the right image, although there was no image, but it's exactly the way I want it, and it's going out at exactly the right time. And you can see it here in your list of scheduled posts. Test is going out June 30th at 1:52 p.m. And let's get rid of that so that that doesn't actually happen. So we'll delete that. Now, Hootsuite is a free tool Free as long as you have 3 or less social media accounts attached to it. I won't go into the whole setup of it because that would probably take 10 or 15 minutes on its own, and we're running a little low on time. But essentially, you go in, you select the social media network. So let's say the Spa Shop again. You drag and drop, or you select a file. So this is an image that we have of a review. You type in the text. Thanks. Ooh. Thanks. Oh, okay. Cannot type for the review. And you can schedule for later. Same thing. So let's say we want to do the 30th. I won't do this because I've actually already done this one. So once it's complete, you can see it here. There it is. You can edit it, but you can tell, okay, it's going out tomorrow, Wednesday the 24th at 11:55 a.m. And you can do a new post by clicking on any part of the calendar or by clicking on the new post here. And then again, you just select which social media network you want. You type in your text, you include hashtags or anything else. You can drag and drop photos or videos, or just click there to find it on your computer and schedule or post it right away. And you can do this the same thing. So Instagram, Twitter, any of those other ones that you can't schedule ahead of time, I would recommend this. Facebook you can do as well if you want them all in one spot, but personally I do like the Facebook scheduler a little bit better. So, well, we just went over. So we're going to end off here on a few useful social media tools. The first one is Hootsuite that we just went over. Linktree is there to solve an issue that we went in the, what was that? The third module, which was all about Instagram. We talked about how you can only have one link, one clickable link, I should say, in Instagram. So if you were to copy and paste something into a post, you wouldn't be able to click on it to go to the web page. The only spot where people can click to go to a web page is right here in the bio. Now you'll notice this is linktr.ee/the spa shop. So what you do with Linktree is, this is what it looks like. So you sign up again with your, excuse me, with your email address. You connect your Instagram just by simply logging into your Instagram. Or again, you can do it with an email. You name, so if you want to add a new link, you just click add new link. You write the title, which you can see here. So the Spa Shop website. And then you add in the link that you want it to go to. I'll just delete that blank one. But what this does is now they give you a link. So my link tree is linktr.ee/the spa shop. So when I click on that now, it opens up a page where you have all of those links as buttons. So now, rather than going to, so let's say again, well, here's one on staycation tips. So in this one, rather than saying link in bio and having the link going to that article here, and then this is another blog. So we have another blog that we say link in bio. So we delete this one and put the link for this one in. Now someone viewing this one won't get the link that they wanted. So you can only ever have one thing at a time, and it can make sharing multiple links very hard. But this link tree now allows us to have multiple links to multiple blog articles, as well as buyer's guides, just go into the website, their YouTube. You can have your other social media feeds in here. As many links as you can think of, you can add to this. I would still curate it a bit and keep it to maybe, I wouldn't go any more than this, 8, 9 is probably the limit, because it gets harder and harder to find things the more things you add. But it's a very easy way of, again, these two posts go out 3 days apart, 4 days apart. People still might be getting this in their feed, but they can't click to it. They can't get the link because there's only one link and it's now going to the newer one. So that solves that issue essentially. And again, it's free, easy to set up. You could probably have it set up in 10 minutes. And then when it comes time to, you can either delete one, you can turn it on or off. So if you don't want to use it now, but you're going to want to use it again later, you can just turn it off and turn it back on. Or you can just click in here and change the text and change the link. But yeah, very simple to use. Very nice if you're going to be on Instagram. I would always recommend having Linktree if you're using Instagram. Canva is one that we briefly went over when we were talking about how to change images. So again, filtering and adjusting. You can also crop images. So this is good for a Facebook banner, or a Facebook cover photo, which is how it's exactly sized for. But if I wanted to use it as a regular post, I can just go in here and crop it, change the size, whatever, you can resize, crop, whatever from there, and just click done, but I'll cancel. Flip, you can do other things too if you want, but really filtering, adjusting, cropping. But the other thing you can do is, like I just said, so if you have you want to change your cover photo on Facebook, you're advertising a sale. Okay, let's say, and you can see this one's free. Some of them will cost you $1. These ones are all free though. So let's say you really like this one. You like the fonts, you can click on that, delete the image that's there. You can upload a new image, or you can just use, well, let's say that one is the one you want to use, and you just rescale it. Obviously not the perfect image to be using here. And now you have a new background image. Change the text just by clicking on it, and you have a Facebook cover photo that advertises your sale, and you just download when you're done. It saves all these so you can go back and make changes if you're unsure, or you notice a spelling mistake or something like that, or you want to try a few different images. But essentially that's it. So you have your templates that you start off with. You can upload your photos. You have their photos that they give you for free, or again, some of them cost you $1. But if you don't have a good amount of photos yourself, and you can search for however many, they have millions of photos to choose from. So whatever keyword you want to search for there, you can find. You can add different elements. Really, I just use shapes, but you can also use stickers and different things like that if you want it to be a GIF. Different heading, post types, text types, videos, it's all available here. So it's a very powerful tool. It's free, as long as you're fine with a few limitations, but even the paid version's only about $7 a month, I believe. Oops. And then stock image sites. So there's a lot out there. Some of them are even free. So Pexels, StockSnap, Unsplash are ones that I've used in the past that are pretty good to get some free stock photos. You don't always have to feel like you have to take every photo yourself. If you can find some really striking stock photos, that'll save you some time or save you some headache going out and trying to find photos. There's no reason why you can't use them. Just be sure to check the permissions of them, because some will only be available to non-commercial use. And it will specifically say that. So it'll say, if there's no, like Unsplash, every image on there that I know of is good for commercial use. They don't even list commercial or non-commercial, but some will. And they'll say cleared for commercial use or not cleared for commercial use. So you only want ones that are cleared for commercial use, especially if you're using them in ads. So that does us for today. If you have any questions, I see we have one here that I'll answer. If you have any others that have come up, feel free to type them in now. And I'll just go over a few key points here while we wait for those. So our first key point is to utilize analytics once a month, once every 2 months, and use that data to make improvements on what you do in the future. Our second one is to pay special attention to your images. You can also add to that maybe the first 5 seconds of videos, as that's what stops people from scrolling or will encourage people to view the video. And then the rest of it kind of takes over. So if you have really good text, you have or other images, or the rest of your video is really good, they'll take over and you'll get a lot of value out of those. But if you don't have that initial 5-second good part of your video or that really good image, the rest of it's going to be wasted. So really pay attention to that. Develop a social media calendar to plan out your posts ahead of time. It'll improve the overall quality of your posts, but it'll also make sure that you have a good variation of post types and topics, so that you're keeping everything varied and you're doing everything that you should be doing, essentially, without trying to spur the moment think of something. And then also set aside a block of time every week for social media. This is very important. you'll spend a lot less time on social media. Your life will be a lot less hectic, and the overall quality of your post will improve. And it doesn't have to be, during working hours. If you want to spend 2 hours you can go from midnight to 2 a.m. if you wanted making social media posts, because you're going to schedule them ahead of time, and you don't have to worry about, no one seeing them because you're posting them in the middle of the night. All right. Excuse me. So that does it for the presentation. Again, any questions, feel free to toss them in here. So the first one that came in was, do you think advertising in local newspapers and radio is worth their higher advertising rates? Can be, but I would say more and more likely not. It really depends on what your end goal is. If your end goal especially is to get people to your website, I would say definitely not, because they don't have that easy way of getting people on your website. Even if you put your web address in the ad, they still have to go in and type it themselves. Where on social media, they just have to click. And a lot of people will do that click. Not a lot of people will go in, remember, and type in your web address. For things like just organic reach, getting, or not organic because you're paying for it, but reach, getting 10,000 people to see something. Social media probably still got it beat in terms of rates. So yeah, there's less and less reasons, I would say, to go radio. Very specific time sensitive things, radio can be very good. They're also good in tandem, so if you do newspaper, radio, and social media, that's a really good combination. But if you have a limited budget, social media would be the first one I would go to. And then as your budget increases, maybe you look to add newspapers or add radio in to supplement and to boost what you're already doing. What does it cost to hire someone to do your social media? Varies quite a bit. So let's say you just want someone to go in and do some ads for you. We would do that. We could run ads for $150 a month. But to do like a full management, where we're doing boosts, where we're posting everything for you, doing the comments and going back and forth with customers, answering customer questions, that can get very expensive. You're talking $500, $1,000 a month in some cases, depending on how many posts and how many social media networks, and it's quite a bit of work. So myself, we do offer that service, but I don't recommend that you take advantage of that. I recommend always that small business owners, you're the experts. You guys should be doing the posts and the engagement. But having someone in to do ads, to run some ads for you in a month, or to maybe even just give you advice and do the analytics side of it, that can be, you can get quite a bit of value out of that. That's something that we do a decent amount of. Where basically we take care of your ads and we generate a report for you once a month that lets you know how well your posts have done and give you some suggestions for how you can improve your posting. And that's something, that can be, you're definitely under $200 a month there, either way. But typically 150, 175 a month for that type of thing. So when boosting, which one is better to increase followers? I don't really understand the difference between getting more engagement and getting more messages. What's the difference in the algorithm where it goes? So boosting, if you're looking for more followers, you can actually do ads specific for that. We'll talk about that in the next module. So specifically, if you're looking for followers, I wouldn't be looking to boost posts. You would instead want to do ads specifically designed to gain you more followers. And they do that with a button that says follow page. Whereas all the other ones, the call to action is going to be go to the website or something else that's completely not following the page. If you're looking specifically to gain followers, avoid just boosting posts, but boost posts for other reasons. So to get more people to see posts, or to get people on the website, or to get more engagement. Those are the reasons why you boost posts. And you will get some followers here and there from that. But if you're looking to just get the most followers you can, I would either run a contest or do a add 4 followers. If you so you set aside time for planning social media, but still have to be available for engaging questions, comments. Yes, that is true. So what I usually do, so you set aside time. The question that came in was, you set aside time for social media once a week, but you still need to have time available for engaging, for answering questions and comments and stuff that come in. And that is absolutely true. The way I go about that is, let's say, again, I have my social media time, which for me is Friday morning. I do all my social media for the week, but I still just log into Facebook or Instagram or whatever, all my social medias once to twice a day, usually once in the morning, sometimes once at night too, especially if I'm going back and forth with someone. I'll want to check later in the day to see if they've responded. It takes 2 to 3 minutes. It doesn't take a lot of time. It's not something where I check it every hour by any means. People are somewhat understanding and know that, you're not going to get back to them within 15 minutes generally. So if you check a couple times a day, that's all you'd ever have to do. And it's not something that usually, 90% of the time you'll only have maybe one comment or, one thing to follow up with, or maybe even none. So it usually doesn't take up too much of your time. And then, how many ads per month for $150? Just the ads? Yeah. So $150 is running ads. So we'll typically do a couple of boosted posts in there, and then we'll also do one set of ads that'll run between 2 weeks and a month. We'll get into the ads actually in the module on Thursday morning, and we'll go through. We basically do everything that we talk about in there. So we'll give you a report. We A/B test ads to change up the ad that people see, and again, we'll go through that in more depth on Thursday. Well, we ran a little over. It's almost 10 o'clock, so I'll let you guys go. Unless you have any more questions, let me know. But we'll see you on Thursday morning, 9 a.m. for the final module, which is, as I just mentioned, all about advertising. We'll go through boosting a post from start to finish, and we'll go through some ways of writing better ads, improving your ads, and using analytics to improve your ads as well a little bit. So that's it for me. Expect to get these. If you have any questions for any of the first 4, also, we can do kind of a wrap up Q&A for everything on Friday, because it is a little bit of a shorter one. So if you think of any questions now, also feel free to write them down. Yeah, we'll see you on Thursday morning.